All right, y'all, in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be reacting to Bleacher Report's brand new article they just dropped yesterday as y'all watch this video on one trade every NBA team should propose right now. And we're going to go through and react to these trades and just see what is suggested basically by Bleacher Report, because I've seen a couple of these that are like, well, one in specific, this like, what in the world? No, never. And I wonder how many more of those there are that are just like outlandish, but I am interested regardless to see what this looks like. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, help me push towards the 2,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, multiple NBA videos a day. Really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Also, let me know in the comments, how's the audio sound? I've been screwing with a lot of different things, but I think I finally got it to where I wanted it. With that being said, first trade is Atlanta Hawks getting Colin Sexton for Kobe Buffkin, Larry Nance, and 2 second-round picks. Honestly, I like this trade. A real bench guard. Don't think he would start, but what he would do is provide real depth to this Hawks team at the guard position. A real six-man who can come in and take off the offensive load from Trae Young, and I don't think they'd be giving up a ton to do it. Kobe Buffkin doesn't seem like he's going to be a real piece for this team. Larry Nance is a little older. He's not a bad player, but he's not super useful. A couple second-round picks. Would the Jazz take this? I'm not totally sure, but if the Hawks could get it, I think it's actually a good move. I like this one to start us off. Boston Celtics, it's Javonte Green for Jaden Springer, and look, like this article says, the Celtics don't have a ton of assets or available salary outside of their rotation, obviously, and I don't think it would hurt to get a little bit more guard depth. I agree. I mean, outside of Peyton Pritchard, they don't really have anybody off the bench who's a real depth guard. Sam Hauser is not really that. I don't love Javonte Green, but he has shot the three ball really well this year. He's over 51% from three, and he's played in big moments before. He was a key piece of the Bulls a couple years ago in a playoff team. Like, in general, I don't think he'd be an impact guy, but I don't think he'd be a horrible ninth man either if they were to add him into the rotation as a guy who may not play on a night-to-night basis, but when he plays, will provide some hard-nosed defense and has shot the ball well this season. So not a horrible trade there either. Brooklyn Nets getting Jarris Walker, Aaron Nesmith, Isaiah Jackson, who's out for the season with a torn Achilles, and 2 seconds for Cam Johnson. If I was the Nets, I would do this in a heartbeat. Jarris Walker is a legit building block piece. He's not going to be a franchise player, but he's a high-level defensive player, and he's shown a real three-point stroke in his first couple seasons in the league. I do think he's a real, like they're saying, high upside young talent, which is the type of player that, or the type of piece that the Nets should be looking for Cam Johnson. With that being said, getting Jarris Walker, Aaron Nesmith, and 2 seconds, I don't see the Pacers giving up that much for Cam Johnson. As good as he is, that's like their 2 best point of attack defenders on the team in Jarris Walker and Aaron Nesmith. Doesn't make sense from the Pacers side at all, in my opinion. Like maybe a just Jarris Walker and 2 seconds. Plus Isaiah Jackson and salary filler if there needs to be to make the salaries work. That's why I think Aaron Nesmith is probably in the trade is for salary purposes, but he's too important to this team. I don't think the Pacers would do this trade. The Nets would love it though, absolutely. Hornets trading for Isaiah Stewart, Tim Hardaway, and a second-round pick for Miles Bridges. Young talent. Is Isaiah Stewart the young talent we're talking about that the Hornets are going to try to acquire? I don't get it. I mean, I guess Hardaway's an inspired contract will free up some money next season. A second-round pick that'll be an early second, sure. I don't know. Miles Bridges has some alternative stuff off the court. Obviously, it's been an issue in the past. He hasn't shot the three ball well this season. This isn't horrible, but it's not great either. I don't look at this and go, oh yeah, that's a good one. Chicago Bulls trading Vucevic to the Warriors for Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, and Kevon Looney. Oh my goodness, the Warriors would be jumping for joy if they could get this trade done. I don't think the Bulls, on the other hand, would. This is no assets whatsoever besides expiring money, which the expiring money of Payton and Looney is cool, but like, what is using Kyle Anderson as a versatile glue guy off the bench? What is the point of that? What asset does he add to a team that is not a serious contender for anything more than maybe making the play-in? Like, this doesn't make sense to me at all. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see the logic in this trade by any means. Maybe it's just me again, but why would the Bulls do this? They want to get some sort of assets for Vucevic. I understand he's getting older, but still, he's been really, really good this year. I feel like they could get some sort of draft capital, maybe not just expiring contracts. The Cavs trading for Nick Richards, giving up Dean Wade in a 2025 second. Now, Dean Wade's actually been, I think, a pretty important part of their success, but yes, they have a lot of other versatile wings they can plug in there. George Niang, Max Strus, Karis LeVert, Ty Jerome, etc. A lot of depth on the Cavs bench at those wing spots from 2 to 4. With that being said, Nick Richards would be a big addition, so I actually do like this trade for the Cavs. I don't know if they'd have to give up the second as well, because I actually think Dean Wade's been decent, but I don't know. I think Nick Richards is one of those guys who a lot of teams around the league are going to look towards at the trade deadline, because he's a viable backup center in a league where that can be very, very valuable. And the Cavs, as good as they are, don't have that. That's the one thing that the Cavs do not have. It's Tristan Thompson right now, and that's not what you want. So if they could get Nick Richards, that would be, I'm sure they'd be thrilled. Here is the trade as a Mavs fan that made me go, what in the world is Bleacher Report thinking? The Mavs trading PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, and Daniel Gafford, and Maxi Kleber, and 2 unprotected first-round picks for 35-year-old Jimmy Butler with a $51 million player option for next season. Why? Would it make them maybe better at the top slightly? Sure. PJ Washington has been awesome this year. Najee Marshall has had moments of awesome. Daniel Gafford is our best backup big. And if we trade him and Kleba, we literally have no backup bigs at all, pretty much besides Dwight Powell. Why would the Mavs ever do this? This kills their depth. It kills their front court depth, especially. And you're giving up 2 unprotected picks for a 35-year-old who might not be a Mav next season? Absolutely not. Never in a million years. No. No chance. No. I don't know if I'd give up half of this. Like, I'm not sure I'd give up PJ, Maxi, and a first-round pick for Jimmy Butler as a Mavs fan. I'm not sure I'd do that, and I'm dead serious. This is awful, atrocious. Now, the Heat would pick up the phone and say yes, 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 a million times, like if they got this offer, but no chance. I mean, why would the Mavs ever do this? Ever? Why would the Mavs do that? This is one of the worst mock trades I've seen in a while. Do people watch the Mavs? Never mind. What in the world? Denver Nuggets trading for Kuzma, Jonas Valanciunas, and Saddiq Bey. That's 3 real rotation players in exchange for MPJ and Zeke Naji. Now, Kuzma has played poorly this year, but his contract is good in the future. Like it says, declining salary year over year. That's improved. That's valuable. And Valanciunas is definitely a backup center upgrade over DeAndre Jordan, despite the fact that DeAndre Jordan has played well as of late. Now, they'd be giving up MPJ, who I think has been one of their best players this year, has had a really good season. But overall, it's not terrible. Like, the value on Kuzma and Bey's contracts really are pretty good. Valanciunas solves the backup center issue, and I think he and Jokic probably get along very well as those European type bigs. I don't hate this trade for the Nuggets, but I also don't love it. I think MPJ being their best shooter, losing him would hurt, but in exchange for 3 real rotation players for a team that doesn't really have great depth, I do like it, honestly. Detroit Pistons trading for Brandon Ingram, Isaiah Stewart, Tim Hardaway Jr., and a 2nd-round pick. I love this trade for the Pistons. This is the Brandon Ingram team. Because Brandon Ingram, yes, he's an expiring contract, but he is a team, it would give them bird rights, which gives them the best chance to re-sign him, obviously. The question with Brandon Ingram is the salary that he would request, or the salary that he would demand. You know what I'm saying? Is he a $30+ million man? The numbers on the paper say yes. On paper, he probably wants a max. He's not getting a max. If the Pistons could re-sign him for somewhere under $30 million a year for a few years, this could be a really good contract to add a guy who is very much a 2nd, 3rd star next to Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, and a rotation and a future that is building. Guys like Asar Thompson, Ron Holland showing some promise. Jalen Duren's been playing better as of late. Malik Beasley has been a godsend. Now, will he be in Detroit next season? I don't know. But this is a team, look, they shouldn't go into win now mode, but this isn't a trade that gives up a ton of assets besides hurting that backup big man spot. I mean, Paul Reed would basically get the backup big man minutes at this point if they did this. But besides that, I mean, I don't see much flaws with this trade because they're not losing a ton, in all honesty. And Ingram would give them a great piece for a team that is going to be a playoff team in all likelihood. I really like the Pistons. I'm actually going to do a video on the Pistons later on today, so go watch that if you want. I am 8 minutes into this video and I've gotten through 9 teams. I'm gonna have to speed this up a little bit. Warriors. Okay, this is slowing me down. The Warriors trading for LeBron James, for Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton, and only 1 first-round pick. I get that he's 40. The Lakers would not take this trade. The Lakers are actually decent right now, and also the Lakers like to make money. LeBron makes them money. They are not trading LeBron. It's not happening. No. If they were playing awful and they were like 12-25 right now, maybe, but they're not. And they look pretty good, especially recently. They've been much better defensively. The addition of Dorian Finney-Smith is nice, and they still have multiple assets to continue to try to improve this team and make them contenders. Whereas the Warriors, on the other hand, stink. This would be mortgaging your future in terms of your assets for a player who's 40 years old, and maybe you win a championship. And if you win a championship, it's amazing. I think that's unlikely though. So it's a funny idea, but incredibly unrealistic. I don't know why they couldn't come up with something better than this. The Rockets trading for De'Aaron Fox. Now this is perfect. This is the trade right here. Would they have to give up this many assets? 2 firsts, Reed Shepherd and Van Vliet and Cam Whitmore? I don't know. But to make contracts work, they would have to give up one of Van Vliet or probably Jalen Green. I don't think they're going to give up Jalen Green despite some of his inefficiencies. He had a great game tonight as I record this video though, in a win against the Grizzlies. So shout out to Jalen Green. Very efficient, 42 points. But I would absolutely do this. Absolutely, I would do this. It's giving up a lot in losing Reed Shepherd, yes. But De'Aaron Fox makes this team a title contender. And I mean title contender, all caps. One of the better teams in basketball. This would be a serious, serious team. And a team that could compete for years on end, not just this year. This is a win now and win in the future type trade. I kind of love it. The Pacers trading Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, and a first-round pick for Miles Turner. Would the Lakers take this trade? It would give them such a center upgrade. It would give them so much Anthony Davis versatility, so much depth, but it would kill their wing depth. Losing Rui and Cam Reddish. I mean, I guess Dorian Finney-Smith kind of fills that Cam Reddish void to a certain, that Rui Hachimura void to a certain extent. I actually like it more now that they traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, but I just don't think the Lakers are trading a first-round pick and Rui Hachimura for Miles Turner. Maybe I'm wrong. Turner is good. He's a legitimately good player, but it just, this trade hurts the Pacers too much with how well they've been playing. I guess Turner is a free agent this summer, so maybe it makes more sense in that capacity, but I don't know about this one, to be honest. And again, I do apologize. This is gonna be a long video, but I just want to get through each of these teams. I'm not gonna skim by too much to try to make it fast. Clippers also trading for Brandon Ingram. I don't know about this trade. Terrence Mann, Derek Jones, PJ Tucker in a second. Again, you're not giving up a lot in terms of assets. Like Derek Jones is the only one of these 3 guys who I think is really a real contributor to this team this season. Terrence Mann is 2 to a certain extent, but he's playing the least he's played in several years, and it is only a 2nd-round pick. I don't hate it. But I don't think, I mean, yes, it improves the offense. It would hurt the defense because Terrence Jones and Terrence Mann are 2 really good defensive players. Brandon Ingram is not that. And I don't know if this team is in a real contender spot unless they stay incredibly healthy. And the odds of James Harden and Kawhi Leonard staying healthy and playing at a crazy high level come playoff time is unlikely. This would be a scary team on paper, but maybe in practice with the amount of injuries that all these teams, injuries and injury-prone players the Clippers would have on the roster. I don't know if I love it, especially with BI being a free agent this summer. I think I'd rather have the depth of Mann and Jones and guys like that. I don't know. I don't love it for the Clippers as much as I like this trade for the Pistons. That's what I'll say. The Lakers trade for... How many firsts? 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Max Christie. The Hornets are blocking the Lakers number. If Rob Pelinka called the Hornets and offered this package, I love Austin Reeves. He is a really good player. The Hornets are absolutely blocking the Lakers if the Lakers offer this package. They do not have enough assets to get LaMelo Ball. It would have to be Austin Reeves and at least 4 first-round picks, I think, for the Hornets to even consider the trade. And that is not a knock on Austin Reeves. He's a great player. This is LaMelo Ball, one of the most exciting and talented young superstars in basketball. Look, he has not won much in his career, but I don't see it. No way. No way. Some of these trade suggestions are ridiculous. Like, what in the world? No, never. And it would, the Lakers don't have the depth to make this trade anyway. It would kill their depth, but that's beside the point. No, I don't get it at all. Wow. I have almost no words at all, honestly, for that one. Memphis trading for Bruce Brown and Davion Mitchell gives them a feisty bench guard, and Bruce Brown would be a nice versatile piece who's got championship experience. The thing about this trade, I mean, they have enough depth to do it. Does it make them much better though? I mean, Luke Kennard provides a ton of shooting for a team that needs it, considering Jaren can be inconsistent as a shooter. Ja is not a great shooter. Desmond Bane's a great shooter, but then Edie, I mean, he shot the 3 well, but he's low volume. Brandon Clark's not really a shooter. He's included in the trade. They do have the big men depth to make this trade, considering Edie, Jaren, Aldama, even J Huff. I think, honestly, I don't hate this trade. Bruce Brown does provide real playoff experience and versatility defensively. I don't hate this trade, but I don't love it either. And Davion Mitchell realistically wouldn't be in the rotation come playoff time, in my opinion. Talented player, especially defensively, but offensively, he's not enough to, I think, really crack a serious playoff team's rotation at this point. Miami Heat trading for Kuminga, Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Gary Payton for Jimmy Butler. See, this is a far more realistic package for Jimmy Butler. There's no first round picks involved in it at all, which makes it make more sense. Now, they would be getting Kuminga, Wiggins, Anderson, and Payton. Realistically, Wiggins will not be a Heat player long term. He's been good, but I don't think he's going to be a Heat long term. Kyle Anderson and Gary Payton are kind of throw-ins for contract reasons. Kuminga would be the prize. Is Kuminga enough of a prize for the Heat to say yes to this trade? I don't know. This one's a lot more realistic, I think, than the Mavs trade that was suggested with the Heat, though I will say, because of the lack of picks involved as well. I don't know. I don't hate this for the Heat. I don't think the Warriors would say yes, though, is what I'll say. It feels like this is the type of trade that Draymond just said they're not going all in. They're not going to go mortgage the future to win now. I don't think they would make this trade. It feels unlikely. The Bucks trading for Jeremy Grant, Chris Middleton, and an unprotected pick? No. Jeremy Grant's not close to the defender he used to be. Chris Middleton is not significantly worse than Jeremy Grant at this point in his career. I get that he hasn't played that well this season. He hasn't played that much. No chance. A first round pick, unprotected, and Chris Middleton. No way. Horrible. Awful trade. What are they thinking with some of these suggestions? This is terrible. The Bucks would never. I don't get it. What are they thinking? All right. The Timberwolves trade for Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, and Malachi Branham for Julius Randle. I mean, I guess Julius Randle's a free agent this summer. That'd be the reason they make this trade. But why would they? What? Trey Jones isn't really a very good shooter. Malachi Branham hasn't proved to be a real rotation place on a winning team. And Keldon Johnson's inconsistent. I don't think he's a bad player, but really? I guess this would be we're starting Naz Reid now. Julius, we don't see it. Maybe. I mean, Trey Jones is probably their third point guard, even with Mike Conley having been older. I mean, he's not playing over DiVincenzo, and Conley, his veteran leadership, I think he still plays over, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't see the Timberwolves doing this. As much as Julius Randle's been a struggle, I don't see this trade making a lot of sense, in all honesty. Pelicans trade for Jonathan Isaac, Gary Parrish, and a 25 second round pick for CJ McCollum. I mean, if they could get John Isaac at a second round pick for McCollum, they probably would, because there is the possibility of John Isaac being a useful rotation guy for several years still. I know he's 27. He's had a ton of injury issues, but he's only 27. So, I mean, there is the potential for him to continue to get a little better. Now, I've seen thoughts about playing him at center in the past. I don't hate that idea, honestly, if he could bulk up a little bit as a rebounder. He just hasn't shot the ball well enough from three this season for me to really trust him as a consistent starter. It does help them financially with CJ McCollum's contract, and they do get a second round pick. The Pelicans are in rebuild mode anyway. I don't hate this trade, but I mean, the Magic could use CJ's scoring. That's the one thing about this trade that kind of does make sense. Maybe. I don't totally hate this trade, in all honesty. I could kind of see the pathway on this one for sure. The Knicks trade Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, Chris Duarte, and a second round pick for Mitchell Robinson. Honestly, I mean, Torrey Craig's shooting the ball well, but I don't know if I trust him come playoff time. Javon Carter's not seeing the floor in the playoffs in all likelihood, although Tom Thibodeau does love his hard-nosed defenders, so maybe. And Chris Duarte was really good in Indiana and kind of feels like he's fallen off the map, but I guess he's shooting 43% in Chicago, so give him credit. He might be a useful guy as well. I don't know. I think they keep Mitchell Robinson. I don't love this trade. If they trade Mitchell Robinson, they have no real big man depth besides Cat. You're literally looking at, if Cat gets hurt, it's Ariel Pokporty and Precious Achua. Like, I think the Mitchell Robinson versatility as well, being able to play him at the 5 and Cat at the 4 if you want, is something that they might unveil at some point once Mitchell Robinson's healthy. I don't think the Knicks would make this trade, but I don't hate it either, so I kind of see it. Oklahoma City Thunder trade for Cam Johnson. This trade makes a ton of sense. This one's obvious. I mean, especially if it's a top 6 first round pick and then Isaiah Joe, Dylan Jones, Ousmane Dieng. Basically, they're swapping Isaiah Joe for Cam Johnson in the rotation. In all honesty, this makes sense. I mean, imagine the Thunder in the playoffs with SGA, Lou Dort, J-Dub, Cam Johnson, and Chet Holmgren, and then Isaiah Hartenstein's coming off the bench with Caruso and other guys like that off the bench. This team would be terrifying. They're already terrifying. They'd be even more terrifying. So, yeah. Just a scary, scary team. Imagine like the death lineup that they could run with Shea, J-Dub, Cam Johnson, Chet and Hartenstein. Ridiculous size and switchability. Ridiculous shooting besides, or very good shooting anyway, besides Hartenstein. And Hartenstein's such a good playmaker. It's so much size, so much versatility at scores. Like, good luck. That team would be a death sentence. Thunder would absolutely do this. I don't know if it's enough of a return for the Nets, in all honesty, is what I would say for Cam Johnson compared to the Jarris Walker package, I will say. Orlando Magic trading for De'Aaron Fox. Yes, this makes a lot of sense as well. As good as Jalen Suggs has been, he could play the 2 defensively for sure next to De'Aaron Fox. Another team that should be pursuing Fox if they can get him off the Kings. Now, would the Kings make this trade? I don't think so. Because, I mean, I guess they're getting 3 first-round picks. Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are kind of fillers, considering neither of those guys are real pieces at this point for a team like the Kings that would be really bad if they traded De'Aaron in all likelihood. So, I mean, it's an interesting trade. It's an interesting trade. And if the Magic could get the Kings to accept it, they would do it, I think. The Kings, on the other hand, I think would be the problem. I don't think they would take that trade. Sixers trade for Santi Aldama, KJ Martin, and 3 second-round picks. Aldama's been really good. I don't see why Memphis would trade him. He's having a great year. I mean, like they're saying, 13, 7.5, and 3 assists. Like, Memphis needs him. He's one of their more important bench pieces, and he's a starter caliber player. He's going to be a piece that they use in the playoffs. I don't see why they would make this trade. In all honesty, the Sixers would make it, I think, but I don't see why the Grizzlies would. In all honesty, I don't think KJ Martin fills that void enough. Phoenix trades for Jimmy Butler for Bradley Beal and a first-round pick, the only first-round pick that they have available to trade, really one of the only draft assets they have at all. Would they really do this? Maybe, in theory, to potentially sign Butler to an extension, KD to an extension, and have this be your big 3, but still, financially, you're going to be in hell. And I don't know if that team's all of a sudden a serious title contender. I mean, maybe if things go perfectly, but if guys stay healthy and egos mesh perfectly and all that type of stuff, then it's possible. But I mean, Phoenix is in a tough spot regardless, so I don't really know how much it matters. But I don't know. The Heat would basically be getting 2 seconds, KCP, Cole Anthony, and Gary Harris for Jimmy. As much as I don't think Jimmy's value is what the Mavs package was either, it's certainly not this low in my opinion either. So this trade doesn't make a ton of sense. The Magic getting Beal does make sense actually because they could use his scoring, but for the Heat's return, and I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense at all. In all honesty. And then the Trailblazers trade for Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and Ousmane Dieng for Jeremy Grant. Really? Are Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Ousmane Dieng guys who would be valuable pieces for the future for Jeremy Grant? They're not trading Jeremy Grant for that. I mean, Jeremy Grant, in my opinion, the package with Chris Middleton at first was way too much, but you're going to want to get draft assets out of him. I don't think Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, as solid as they are good enough young talent, or Dieng, who's not even in the rotation. I don't know if those guys are good enough young talent for Jeremy Grant with no picks attached. Maybe. I mean, Aaron Wiggins has been really good this year, especially, but I don't know. I don't see it. The Kings trade for Jimmy Butler, DeMar, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and 1 pick. I could see the Kings making this trade, but I just think in how deep the Western Conference is, this trade really doesn't make a ton of sense for them because I don't think it all of a sudden makes them a serious title contender. Like Jimmy, feel like spacing wise, similar to DeMar. Defensively, he's better and their defense would obviously improve and he is more of a clutch option, kind of a 1A guy, but I wonder how his ego would mix with De'Aaron Fox. I don't know. This is kind of a strange trade on both sides. And for the Heat, all they're getting is a first round pick in terms of long-term value. DeMar, the assets they're getting back are not enough for them to maintain a spot in contention, in my opinion. I don't really think DeMar is that useful of a winning player at this point. So why would the Heat take this? I don't get it totally, in all honesty. Spurs trading for De'Aaron Fox. This was the other team that I absolutely said should 100% trade for De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the Spurs and Houston are the 2 teams that I've been saying need to be on the phone trying to see whatever they can get him in any way, shape, or form. And this, again, you're trading 3 first-round picks, but besides that, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, and Malachi Branham. If you're the Spurs, I think you absolutely do this. I mean, Wemby and De'Aaron Fox, oh my gosh, you'd rule the league, basically. I mean, maybe not, but they would be a contender for years to come, legitimately for years to come. Imagine that team. I mean, they would be dangerous to win a title this year. Like, that would be a really, really good squad because they're not losing a ton of super important rotation pieces besides, I mean, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, I guess. But for De'Aaron Fox, absolutely you do that. Toronto Raptors trade for Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, and Gary Payton the second. Again, why would the Raptors trade? Pirtle's been good. But if you're selling high for a guy who's probably a bench piece on a decent team in Moses Moody. I like Moses Moody. I think he's a good player, but there's no draft assets at all, and Looney and Gary Payton are nothings. So you're basically trading Jakob Poeltl for Moses Moody. Would you do that? Maybe. You probably want a second round pick at least. I don't know. Utah trades for Patrick Williams and Javon Carter for John Collins. Again, I mean, Patrick Williams is only 23, but he just does not strike me at all as the type of player who's going to develop into a star, or even close to a star caliber player. Maybe for the future, it kind of makes sense, but in general, it just doesn't matter that much. I mean, John Collins' value is probably about as high as it'll ever be, and I'd still probably not that high in all honesty, although he shot the 3 really well this year, but I don't know. Maybe. I don't see how this trade really benefits either of these teams very much, to be totally honest. Why would the Bulls do this? Like, what is the benefit of trading for John Collins? And then the Wizards trade Tim Hardaway Jr., Simone Fontecchio, and 3 second-round picks for Kuzma. Really? Again, all they're getting is 3 second-round picks for Kuzma, basically, because Fontecchio and I mean, I think Simone Fontecchio is a decent player, but Hardaway's an expiring. Fontecchio's a bench 3-and-D, and 3 second-round picks for Kuzma. I mean, maybe if that's all you can get is second-round picks for Kuzma, then maybe this is not an awful trade. I don't know. It's not the worst, but there are some in here that were absolutely terrible. I know this is a very long video. If you watched to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. Leave me a comment and let me know if you did watch the end of the video, because that is goated. I'll follow you back on Twitter if you drop your Twitter, actually, in the comments if you've watched the end of the video, because that's real support right there. A couple of these were ridiculous, though. Like the Lakers trading for LaMelo Ball, the Warriors trading for LeBron, the Mavs trading that much for Jimmy Butler. Like, some of these trades were absurd. This was legitimately comedy, and I hope y'all enjoyed reacting to this as much as I did. So I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.